What are the best YouTube channels to learn social media marketing? You'll find hundreds of different channels that teach social media strategy, but how do you know which ones you should listen to? Most are packed with advice or trends or tips that are all focused on having your videos go viral. In this episode, we'll explore how to spot the real strategy that'll work and how to spot the red flags that you should avoid. And by the end of this episode, you'll know who you should be listening to actually grow your business on YouTube. Let's dive right in. So how can you tell the difference between kind of fluff content and real strategy that you can use? That one's tough because if people talk with confidence, if people sound like they know what they're talking about, if their channel has a decent number of subscribers, then we tend to think that, oh, they must know what they're talking about. There's two things that you need to consider. One is that there are actually two paths to success on YouTube, and the advice somebody's giving you might be on a path that is not the one you want to be on. These two paths don't mix. So one, you need to know what path are they advising on. Are they advising you on this path or on this path? The second thing that I want you to consider is, have they just achieved this success themselves, like they've done it once and so now they're the expert, or have they helped hundreds of people perhaps achieve that success? Just as a simple example, let's say a person has earned $1 million in their business and now they're going to teach you how to earn $1 million, or would it be more valuable if that person has helped hundreds of people make $1 million? So that's a big criteria. There are a lot of people who have done it one time and therefore they know the pathway to success, but they've never helped anyone else achieve those same results. Are there any creators that teach social media for lead generation? Yeah, there are. And the piece of advice that I would give you is to pick one person per platform. So find somebody who is an expert at Facebook marketing and that is really good at using Facebook for lead generation, if that's what you want to do. If you want to know how to do that on Facebook, find a person who knows how to do it on Facebook. Or on LinkedIn, a drastically different platform, but if you find somebody who really knows how to leverage LinkedIn for lead generation, take their advice on that platform, but not for Facebook or not for YouTube. The pathways to lead generation on YouTube versus LinkedIn are drastically different, but you'll commonly hear people talk about social media and how you generate leads on social media because you don't know what platform they're talking about and you just generically think, oh, it must apply to all of them. What channels will get me real business results? There is a pathway to success on any social media platform. However, I love results and I also love efficiently. What channels are going to help me get the best results the easiest way? That's why I love YouTube. YouTube is such an amazing platform for lead generation because it has an amazing search engine. Through the YouTube search engine, I can hone in on my target audience. They're searching on Google and YouTube, and the content I create on YouTube will show up on both YouTube and Google, so I can attract and pull in my exact target audience. Platforms like Facebook and LinkedIn and a podcast, they just don't have a good centralized search engine for content, so it makes it a lot harder. Now, the number 2 platform is LinkedIn. I've used LinkedIn successfully for lead generation. LinkedIn has changed a lot over the years, so my tactics and strategies have changed and they've been watered down. So for me, that's why I talk so much about YouTube, is because YouTube is the place that I get the most results. Can I learn both organic and paid strategies from YouTube? Yes and no. So organic, absolutely. That's what I've been talking about, is YouTube search. Let's talk about paid. There is a lot of advertising that happens on YouTube, so it must be successful. Now, I'm not a paid ads expert, but I have a lot of clients who do a lot of advertising. They do advertising primarily on Google and Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and on YouTube. And apparently, Facebook is the easiest and it's the cheapest. It's the best place to start. So just from that advice, I wouldn't start directly on YouTube. Now, something that is more within my expertise is you've got to keep organic and paid separate on YouTube. So if you're going to do a paid ads campaign, focus on organic on the channel that you do care about. How do I know if a channel's advice will work for my niche? Yeah, that's a great question too. If it's really distant, then you don't know, The best way to know if it'll work is if you can find somebody in your niche or really close to it. Maybe another way of looking at it is, what is the end result? Like, if you follow the path, what is the end goal? Is that the same end goal that you have for your channel? So if you get advice from somebody and their end goal is getting as many views as possible so they can generate ad revenue, and your goal is lead generation, then you know that that's not advice that you should be following. What red flags should I watch for in social media marketing content? Unfortunately, a lot of people know how to talk the talk without walking the walk. I recently watched a video from another guy who talked about how to rank #1 on YouTube. He even showed on 3 different circumstances, if you did this search on YouTube, look, his videos were ranking #1 on YouTube. But then I typed those phrases into YouTube and he wasn't there. I didn't even find him if I scrolled down and kept searching. And I wasn't expecting this, but in 2 of those 3 examples, I found my own videos ranking at the top. You need to verify or need to validate what they're saying and what they're showing. In the case of organic SEO, let me give you some red flags here. If people talk about doing SEO to a video, or adding tags or things like that, they're just regurgitating things that used to work 20 years ago, and so they think that they sound smart, but they have no idea what they're talking about. I will give you my own guarantee that anyone that you hear saying things like that, they don't have videos ranking at the top of YouTube search. One other thing that I can think of is you'll hear people, even big names like Gary Vaynerchuk, who's very popular, that will tell you to, in my words, spam the planet. Like, create as much content as possible and put it on any and every platform. That is a waste of time and a huge waste of energy, and that's not where Gary Vee started either. He started on one platform, and as that platform took off, he then branched out to a second platform, and as those both took off, then he started spamming the planet and preaching that that's the way to go. The reason that's such a big waste of time is because each platform has a specific path to success. YouTube actually has 2 different paths to success. I know of one path on LinkedIn, there might be another. There's a path on Facebook, there's a path on Instagram, but all these paths use very different types of content, very different tactics. For example, on LinkedIn, you can't just post videos, you need to have videos mixed in with photos and with written articles. But beyond that, you've got to have engagement. You've got to have people engage with your content. If you tag somebody and they don't respond or don't reply, that'll actually hurt your post. And you've got to engage in other people's content. So there's just a whole different strategy, and you don't have to do any of those things on YouTube. So make sure that people are talking very specifically about one platform, and if you're talking about YouTube, make sure you know what path they're taking. Are they taking a path for ad revenue or the path for lead generation? How do I stay focused instead of overwhelmed by advice? It is tough because when you have a lot of different advice and you don't know whose advice to follow, it can be overwhelming. And if you don't know how to track your results, you don't know how to see if it's working or not, then you're just left to guessing. Well, I tried it, but I don't know if it's working. So that's why I use spreadsheets, and I track boring things like no's turning to yeses. Let me show you a quick example. This is just one example of a client named Bob Diamond. He's a tax sale attorney in the real estate investing space. And on October 1st, we had a score of 5. You don't really need to understand what that means, but the higher the number, the better. And a no means, for a lot of these questions, he was not showing up in YouTube search. But we tracked them from 1 month to the next, and you see that these no's turned into yeses. That score went from 5 up to 26. If your focus is lead generation, then you might be surprised to hear that a video that goes viral could really hurt your business. I want you to understand why. I've made another video, I'll link to it right there. The title of it is Why Viral Videos Might Really Be Hurting Your Business. So definitely go watch that video next.